Captain Darla Whitmore was not just a police captain in Sycamore, Georgia. She was the kind of person who loved power too much, the type of person who acted like she owned the town. She carried herself the same way an HOA Karen runs a neighborhood, always walking around with a sense of control, always correcting people, always making rules that helped her look good but never really helped anyone else. She loved the sound of her own voice. She loved when people looked at her uniform. And more than anything, she loved her camera. Every time she stopped someone, she would pull out her phone, press record, and act like she was in a movie. She was not protecting people. She was performing. She staged everything for TikTok, cutting clips, adding music, and making herself look like a brave hero when in truth, she was humiliating young men, especially young black men who were just living their lives. She would film them being searched, film herself yelling, and then cut the video to make it look like she had caught a criminal. People in town started calling her Captain Camera, but not to her face because she was still dangerous. Nobody dared to fight her because she was the law. And she had the badge, the gun, and the followers online cheering her on. But one night, everything changed. She pulled into a gas station late in the evening and she saw a tall black man filling up his car. She thought it was just another easy stop, another chance to make content. His name was Elijah Torrance, but she didn't know that. To her, he looked like just another target, another man she could push around and post online. What she didn't realize was that Elijah was not just some stranger. He was a federal agent working undercover, a man trained to stay calm, to watch, and to let people reveal themselves. He was in Sycamore on a quiet mission, assigned to observe how the police in small towns were really operating. He had been watching Darla from a distance, and now fate had placed him right in her path. Darla got out of her cruiser, phone already in her hand, recording before she even spoke. "License and registration," she barked, her voice sharp and commanding, her blue eyes glaring. Elijah stayed calm. He looked at her directly, his deep brown eyes steady, his face unreadable. He handed her his license, saying nothing extra. She started asking questions that had nothing to do with safety, her tone mocking, her words crafted for the camera. "Where are you coming from? Why so late? What's in your trunk?" She wanted him to look nervous, but he didn't. He just answered softly, clearly, with no anger in his voice. She pushed harder, trying to get a reaction, but Elijah remained still. Then she crossed the line. She opened his trunk without permission, right there on camera, acting like she had caught him with something. But Elijah had his own camera hidden, recording everything. In that moment, the truth was sealed. Darla thought she was controlling the story, but the real story was slipping away from her hands. She posted her cut version later that night, making herself look tough, making Elijah look suspicious. But she had missed something small but powerful. In her rush to post, she left in a tiny soundbite where Elijah calmly said, "You are searching without a warrant." Those words spread online, and people started asking questions. In town, mothers like Tiana Riggins, who had already seen their sons humiliated by Darla, began to speak louder. Tiana was a journalist, and she knew how to share a story. She recorded her own video of Darla stopping her teenage son weeks before, where nothing illegal was found, but Darla had still acted like a star for the camera. When she posted it again, this time alongside Elijah's clip, the fire spread. People started connecting the dots. This was not justice. This was theater. Darla was not serving the community. She was serving her ego. The comparison was clear. Darla was exactly like those HOA Karens who walk around neighborhoods with clipboards, taking pictures of people's lawns, writing letters about mailbox colors, and handing out fines for toys left in driveways. They don't care about community. They care about control. That was Darla with a badge. She was policing not for safety, but for attention. She was more worried about how she looked on TikTok than how people in Sycamore actually lived. Behind the scenes, Elijah's team was already watching. His recordings, his reports, and now the public videos were enough to show a pattern of abuse. But Elijah didn't rush. He kept moving carefully, giving Darla more space to show herself, and she did. When she felt the town starting to whisper, when she heard the small bits of doubt creeping into conversations at diners and churches, she doubled down. She staged another stop, this time at the industrial park, trying to film herself as the bold protector of the town. She thought if she could make a big show, the doubts would go away. But this time, she was not the only one recording. Federal agents were in the shadows, cameras rolling. They caught everything, uncut her false commands, her illegal search, her mocking smile for the camera. And when the moment came, they stepped forward. "Captain Whitmore," they said firmly, "you are under arrest." Her face dropped, her phone fell, and the cameras captured her shock. The same people who once feared her now saw her exposed. She was no hero. She was no protector. She was just another Karen with power who thought she was untouchable. The next morning, Sycamore woke to a sight nobody had imagined. Darla walked out of the police station in handcuffs. Her blonde bob stiff in the morning light, her uniform wrinkled, her face pale without the heavy makeup. There was no music, no TikTok filter, no quick edit. Just raw silence, broken only by the sound of her shoes against the floor. Reporters snapped pictures, neighbors whispered, and Tiana Riggins stood there holding her phone high, live streaming the moment so nobody could twist it. Mayor Glenn Harrow, who had always tried to avoid conflict, finally spoke, admitting that the town had turned a blind eye for too long. Officer Jimmy Langston, who had always looked nervous and too young for his uniform, confessed that he had followed orders out of fear. And Elijah, the man who had been calm through it all, did not stay for praise. He left town quietly, no press, no speech, no spotlight. He slipped away like a shadow, leaving only a simple note for Tiana. It read, "Healing starts when truth is louder than fear." For the first time in years, Sycamore breathed differently. The fear of being stopped for no reason faded. Mothers no longer whispered warnings to their sons before they walked out the door. Neighbors waved without suspicion. The town felt lighter, freer, almost like a neighborhood after the HOA Karen finally moves away. The grip was gone, the air was clean, and people could live without the weight of being watched for show. Captain Darla Whitmore had thought she was building a brand, thought she was untouchable, thought the world would only see her edits. But in the end, the truth came out uncut, and the very camera she loved became the tool that destroyed her.